Today we're going to be talking about some great tips and drills that you can use to get out of a throwing slump. Now, a throwing slump would be classified as when a quarterback is missing their wide receivers high, low, missing behind consistently, and really just their accuracy isn't where it should be. So what can you do to get out of that habit? So like I said, we're going to go over some tips first, and then we're going to get into some great drills that can help you be a more accurate passer. So first things first, I would say is whenever you're throwing to a receiver, you always want to focus on driving the ball to their upfield number. So this is for guys who are missing low, missing high, or missing probably behind, too far in front. So the upfield number, obviously in football, we wear a jersey, you got a number on your back, and then you got a number on the front of your jersey. The number on the front of the jersey is where we are aiming for. A lot of times I get this question from quarterbacks like, hey, I'm not necessarily sure where I should aim, where I should look, and my advice is always that upfield number. So if he's running a slant and he breaks, I'm not trying to throw it to him, I'm not throwing it to like a spot, I'm going to drive the ball, which means throw it with some velocity right at that number. Don't overthink things, you guys. I think a lot of times quarterbacks, when they're in a throwing slump, they overthink a lot of things like my stride, my base, you know, where's my release point? Like there's a time to work on that, and we're gonna discuss that later in this video with some drills, and you have to work on that type of stuff. But when you're throwing to receivers, you should be focused on accuracy and ball placement. So the ball placement should be right on that upfield number, and we are focused on driving the ball to that number. So we're gonna give you, again, some great drills to work on that and get you out of that throwing slump to help with that. Now also, fellas, if you're a quarterback and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We are going to be traveling out to 15 different states across the entire U.S. for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camps. So guys, check out that very first link in the description below. Like we said, we're coming out to San Francisco, California, Orlando, Florida. Both of those camps are completely sold out. We don't have any more availability, and all of the camps, those are 2 out of 15. All the 13 remaining, you guys, will fill up insanely fast because we limit spots, so I can work with each athlete individually, so will our staff. Then we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, North Carolina, Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, Nevada, Seattle, Washington, Chicago, Illinois, Newark, New Jersey, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, and finishing off our tour in Los Angeles, California. So again, guys, very first link in that description below if you're local to one of those cities and would like to train with us. Now, generally, guys, if you're missing behind receivers, high, low, like that thing I was talking about where you're throwing to your upfield number, that can kind of solve the problem in the moment, but generally there's a reason why you're missing high, low, behind, and it has to do with your mechanics. Generally, bad accuracy comes from a mechanical flaw, and we have to try to identify that mechanical flaw as a quarterback. So an easy way to do that is you could have a partner, set up a tripod, put your phone on something, and just simply film yourself and record yourself when throwing. Now, I'm saying this if you don't have like a quarterback coach, you don't have like a trainer to work with you. If you do, that's their job to identify these problems. If they can't, you should probably find a new trainer, but you record yourself and try to figure out what's going on. So let's say, perfect example is like you're a quarterback who has generally like a long step. When you throw, you take a very big step with your front foot. So generally what happens when guys take a very big step is they can't really rotate from their hips. They can't generate rotational force. Their hips kind of lock out, their legs lock out. So what they do to compensate for that is they'll like dip their head, lean, and throw, and that's when the ball will tend to go high or tend to go low. So if that's a problem that you have, you record yourself, you see that. You're probably wondering why I'm holding this towel, because towel reps is a great way for quarterbacks to correct mechanical habits and just isolate a mechanical habit without worrying about the result of the ball. So let's say, for example, I have that long stride. What you want to do is you get a simple dish towel, like house towel, whatever it is, doesn't really matter how big or how small it is. You want to try to make it as thin as possible, and you put your middle finger over the top of the towel in the middle of the towel. So it almost looks like a bird in a sense. You don't want to grab the towel with like a full fist, because that does not simulate how you would release the ball. You hold it like this because you could still flick your wrist and be able to follow through like a normal throw, because we're trying to simulate a normal throw the best we can. So you get on this towel, and guys, honestly, you're not worried about results. You set up a camera, you film yourself, and just think about that short stride. Think about a short stride rotating through, and you rep out that motion over and over again. A lot of times there's a common misconception about really any position in football that there's some like secret hack that can make you stop doing certain things. Like if you have a long stride, the best way to fix a long stride is by constant repetition of a short stride. So doing towel work, you guys, off of any type of movement, you could work it off of drops and throw. You could just do setup normal and just throw and not be worried about the result, just be worried about your form. Record every single rep. That's the first step to solving a mechanical habit. So those habits that you're developing can translate to on-field play, and you don't have to worry about your long stride when throwing to actual receivers. Now, another flaw that a lot of people don't talk about is footwork in a quarterback that can lead to bad accuracy. Like more specifically, I think a lot of quarterbacks tend to get very like front heavy when they throw. So like for example, let's say I'm taking a 3-step drop and I throw. A lot of quarterbacks will drop, they'll go back 1, cross over with their 2nd step, plant on their 3rd step, and it'll almost look like a bike kickstand where their weight is super far onto their front foot. So the issue is that when you take a step to the target, your back foot, your back hip, everything's kind of left behind, and you're really just throwing this thing all arm, which is another reason guys will kind of pull down and miss high, miss low. Some guys, what they'll do is they'll pull open and their front foot swings open, causing them to miss behind. So another thing that you could do to help you get out of that throwing slump, if you feel it's your feet, again, record yourself throwing, and if you could tell that your drops are off, you need to rep that out over and over again. What I used to do as a player, guys, is I would work 25 reps and I would do 2 sets of it of each specific drop. So I would go 25 reps, like let's say we're here in this yellow line's my line of scrimmage. I would go 25 reps of a 1-step drop. I wouldn't even throw. I would just work on getting to a perfect base. Then I would go 25 the opposite way. Here, 1-step drop. And then I go 25 of a 3-step, 1, 2, 3, and get to a perfect base every time. Work up 25 of a 3-step drop and a hitch, and then maybe you could add a throw to it if you would like, but just getting your base correct, getting your feet correct, and repping out those good habits over and over again will translate to, okay, I'm on the field, I don't need to think about my drop, I can just do it. It's muscle memory, and that's what's gonna help you be a more consistent passer, because you could then just focus on, okay, I'm gonna drive that ball to that upfield number of the receiver, I'm purely focused on accuracy, timing, not worried about my mechanics, and that can help you break that throwing slump. Now, what do you do actually, guys, when you're in a throwing slump, but maybe you like now you wanna go throw on the field with an actual football, you've done the towel reps, you feel like your mechanical habits are fixed? I would recommend not throwing to a moving target right away. I think like, so perfect example is like I work with a lot of quarterbacks and I train a lot of quarterbacks in the Southern California area because that's where I live, right? And I think a lot of quarterbacks, like, you know, like they have mechanical flaws. Like they have a long stride, they have, you know, bad, like lean out with their head, whatever their problem is. Every quarterback has problems, but they'll come to me for a first session and they'll bring a receiver, right? Which is totally fine. That's a totally normal thing to do. But the issue is that it's very, very hard for us to work on our mechanics when we have to throw like a timing 10-yard out, or we have to throw a fade ball and I got to get the ball to a receiver. So generally that receiver is pretty bored on that first session because I'm not having him move around a lot. I'm having him maybe walk certain routes, stand stationary, because we're focused on our mechanics. We're not necessarily focused on timing and leading a guy. So if you're coming out of a throwing slump, like think about what month this is filmed in, right? This is filmed in December. So we have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and then August. That's like 7-8 months where you could focus on getting good mechanical habits and getting out of that throwing slump. Like, don't be afraid to take some time to like, okay, I'm just gonna throw to stationary targets for right now to work on my form, and then progress to throwing to a moving target. You don't gotta jump the gun and throw full speed routes right when you're coming out of it. Take the time, focus on your mechanics, because generally the throwing slump is from bad mechanical habits.